I'm Michael Schaefer, and it's been a huge week of news. So to help me get through all of it, I'm joined as always by Jacqueline Mifsud.
Cheers.
And Anthony McCormack as well. Already lost our PG rating. Okay, let's take a look at some of the headlines from this week. We're only 1 week away from the Quadrennial International Athletes Orgy, more commonly referred to as the Olympics.
I'm excited for Rio.
Me too. I think this sequel is the one that's going to nail it. And also the Olympics, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Well, there have been some issues. It looks like the athletes' sex venue, our village, is not yet ready. In fact, Australia is refusing to move in because of problems with the toilets, leaking pipes and exposed wiring.
See, that is going to affect their Airbnb rating. It is not okay.
But it seems like the Australian team is alone. Officials from Team Great Britain distanced themselves from the complaints.
Get used to poor living conditions if you're going to leave the EU. Suck it up, Gal.
Well, what's amazing is that right now Australia is the only country that's kicking up with us. In fact, we've already won the gold for the 100-metre whinge. And nobody, and by the way, nobody seems to be taking complaints from the Australian team boss, Kitty Chiller, seriously at all.
Could that be because her name is Kitty Chiller?
It kind of sounds like an evil vet.
Well, Rio's mayor responded to Kitty. He said, "We are going to make the Australians feel at home here. I'm almost putting a kangaroo out front to jump for them."
Have they been to Australia? We don't need a kangaroo. Just make sure the buffet has Vegemite and there's a mini fridge full of beer. Any beer, just not Foster's.
Yeah.
No.
Leave some room in the mini fridge because that's where Kitty Chiller likes to put her cat.
Meow.
Well, honestly, putting a kangaroo out the front isn't going to make Australians feel at home. What if India complains? They're going to chuck a Bengal tiger out the front as well?
That might not make Indians feel at home, but it will make Australians run faster. That's a good thing.
So when will it end? Then Thailand complains. So then they go, okay, we'll just ship an Asian elephant and sit that out the front. There he is. But I think maybe Australians would be comforted by that. They'll be like, all right, that's for 30 baht.
A true cultural Australian experience. Well, this is not the first time there have been complaints about the athletes' intercourse rooms. Village. At the Sochi Olympics, some of the bathrooms had 3 chairs set up facing the toilet.
Do you guys know what's on the TV tonight? Bugger that. Boris is on the toilet. Let's go watch.
That was not the only thing at Sochi. Plus, there were these double toilets at Sochi's Olympic Center.
No wonder these Russian synchronized divers are so good. They synchronize everything.
And not that, this was the water coming out of the taps at Sochi, which just looked like pee.
Oh, they synchronized their pee as well. Nice.
Oh, guys, enough of the toilet humor. Michael, will this village be ready anytime soon?
Well, that's a good question. Well, the other day, a team of plumbers was already at work to fix the problems.
Well, that's reassuring. Plumbers always get things fixed on time.
Seem very angry there. But if they need a quick fix, why don't they just connect the plumbing to lane 8 of the Olympic pool? No one's swimming there. Oh, there's the visual. I don't think anyone's seen that much shit since Andy Dufresne and Shawshank Redemption.
I don't think the Russian films would mind. They'd be like, oh, this is better than the Sochi drinking water, actually.
In other news, the small town of Hugo, Colorado made headlines this week when it was reported that the town's reservoir had been spiked with THC, the active element in marijuana. While no one reported symptoms of any kind...
Except for the raging surge in Doritos. No, don't worry about it. Munchie's joke didn't cut it. Sorry.
A public health warning was issued warning locals not to drink, cook with or feed pets with the tainted water, though later on health officials relaxed a little, man, and said it was cool to shower and wash your hands with it.
Wash your hands? Whoa. I wonder how big my hands were.
They're like feet at the end of your arms.
Are they?
Wait, this is what I want to know. Wait, Anthony, this is the place where marijuana was first legalized. Wait, so now they've made it mandatory?
You like it.
Well, the warning was issued after officials identified a break-in at least one city reservoir.
Can you imagine how much marijuana it would take to spike a whole reservoir? It's like the most unnecessary expensive prank ever. That's a lot of money.
Wait, so the sheriff is looking for a massive stoner who has money to burn. Good luck finding that guy. He does not exist.
Snoop-a-loop! Then when you think this story couldn't get any better, locals were issued with an update. Turns out the town's water wasn't laced with THC after all.
Wait, so they cleaned up the contamination?
There was no contamination. Did you know THC isn't actually water soluble and you can't actually mix it with water?
It feels like a far less expensive but more manageable prank.
Yeah. The alarm bells were set off in the first place because of routine drug tests at a local business. Apparently workers were testing positive for marijuana even though they didn't use marijuana.
That is what they all say.
All right, buddy.
The skeptical employer needed to check the tests with something they'd be sure absolutely wouldn't have drugs in it, so they used ordinary tap water. Surprise, surprise, the water tested positive.
Well, and they believed it, so they're already skeptical about the test, but then they're like, oh no, the whole town's water supply is just liquid bud.
I love to say liquid bud. But even if it was possible, wouldn't we already be seeing bottled water companies capitalising in towns where it's legal? Like we might see drinking water such as H2O, Aqua Greener, and my favourite, Mount Danklin. Don't get it, very funny.
I think he got shot at last week. Anyway, but this still doesn't solve the mystery of who broke into the reservoir in the first place, Anthony.
That's true, and there are only two people that I trust to solve a mystery like that.
Both of them are massive stoners.
I am very hungry. Someone in the United States, please don't let Trump win, paid $9,000 for 2 VHS copies of Beauty and the Beast on eBay.
Wait, $9 grand?
$9,000.
Did they get a Beauty and a Beast? Like, what were they paying for?
This is why I don't drink and bid anymore. Don't drink and bid, people.
Did it come with a talking crockery set as well? Like, what are they getting for their money?
Go back to Colorado, Michael. If your Disney classics are part of the Black Diamond collection, they're considered very expensive because they're meant to be very rare.
I can understand that. Black diamonds are very expensive, but they don't do anything. If I could watch a Disney movie on one of those, I would pay for that.
That's my fault. I haven't explained it correctly. Take mine. If you have a VHS and on the spine of it, it has a picture of a black diamond, says Walt Disney Classics and got Walt's signature, it's meant to be very rare.
Is it actually very rare?
Kind of. It just means it's the original. So it hasn't been digitally remastered because Disney's always editing their films.
Oh, yeah, like the way they did with E.T., where they took all the guns and replaced them with walkie-talkies.
And the donuts, the low-fat, high-fiber snacks, that didn't happen.
Just with the E.T., didn't Spielberg regret that and he put the guns back in?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he takes the guns out, but he's like, nah, only kidding, here you go. Have your guns back, shoot them up, boys. Stop those illegal aliens.
It's your constitutional right to do
Are people actually paying for these, 9,000, or is this all just a big scam? Scammy, spam? Are they made of spam?
Your question, are they made of spam? Yes. They get $9,000 for a shitload of spam. See, there are a lot of expensive listings on eBay, but not so much bidding. So that guy who paid $9,000, that's a once-off. He kind of got ripped off.
Is this guy aware of Pirate Bay or Kick-Ass Torrents or just Thailand? Is he aware of Thailand?
How do you arrive at a target like $9,000? Is it like a dartboard involved? 9,000, there we go.
I'm on Twitter. VHS and beta collector Dario Smagata says that black diamond tapes are becoming collectible and not so much rare. So they're really only selling for $25 if in good condition.
What's a Smagata with him?
Am I right?
Did I ever tell you guys the one about the VHS player and the record player?
No.
Doesn't Smagata.
Yep,
all right. Okay, big question here is, who is still using VCRs in 2016?
Well, exactly. VCRs are dead.
You shut your juicy mouth.
I refuse. Japanese manufacturer Fungi Electric will officially stop making VCRs next month. They're throwing in the towel after 30 years, which is how I feel after my 30th birthday.
That was dark. Wait, I'm amazed it took them this long, though, to shut down.
You shut your juicy mouth too, both of you.
Oh, it has to.
So juicy. So that's what I thought. But guess how many VCR units were sold last year?
2.
2 billion.
Just no middleman. 750,000. Like, that's a lot of VCR. That's a lot of... enough VHSs to record all of the abuse in Northern Territory.
Well, we're going to go to a breakdown to let you know on that one. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Did you know? The mining industry might not be all it's fracked up to be. In fact, the arts as a sector employs more people in Australia than mining does. For every $1 million invested in mining, only 1.02 jobs are created. The same investment in health creates 8.47 jobs. And the healthcare industry barely decimates any of the natural world doing it.
Look away now. Just kidding. This week I went down to the Yarra to talk about something that affects us all and actually exists.
G'day, I'm Jacqueline Mifsud. Did you know everyday household items like the sun, wind and the ocean can be used to create energy? This source of energy is known as renewable energy because the source isn't depleted when it's used. Fossil fuels, however, are natural fuels created over millions of years from animals and plants like coal, gas and Gina Rinehart's soul. The burning of fossil fuels is the largest human source of emissions of carbon dioxide. That's a greenhouse gas and it contributes to global warming. Josh Frydenberg is the Minister for the Environment and Energy. He used to be an investment banker. He's a certified rhyming slang jerk. Another lovable lunatic is Matt Canavan. He's the Minister for Resources. Resources is a sneaky way of saying mining. The mining minister, funnily enough, believes that climate change science is uncertain. He thinks it's a myth, like the Loch Ness Monster or the female orgasm. He doesn't even know when he's going to die.
I don't know when I'm going to die.
You'd think that being the Minister for Environment means that you love the environment and you want to save it. Well, you'd be donkey schlong. Wrong. There are some people that don't believe in climate science, so they want to dig up and burn fossil fuels without consequence. Then there are other people that do believe in the science, but still want to dig up and burn fossil fuels for economic reasons. Why? Because, just like your uncle's insults at Christmas, they're cheap and abundant. The industry's already there. They can make enough money to buy a new planet. That's a joke. That can't happen. Our coal, gas, crude oil, petrol and LPG industries are worth over $70 billion, which is very attractive to money-hungry spew bags like Frydenberg. Wind is also extremely cheap and abundant, but making the switch towards renewables is really expensive. The technology hasn't really been figured out yet. So while other countries like Sweden, Denmark, and any other place with really attractive, healthy people are making the switch towards 100% renewable energy, Australian leaders are worried about wind turbines being a bit ugly and kind of noisy. So sleep well tonight, Australia, thinking about your grandchildren's faces melting off in a flash flood of acid rain. Okay, bye-bye.
Great work, Jack. Well, here at The Leak, we're very conscious of giving you the news in an unbiased manner. So tonight, we're presenting the news from both the left and the right.
Good stuff. I'm Anthony McCormack.
And I'm Jacqueline Mifsud. This week on the Bulletin. Wonderful. Carlton United Breweries have fired their entire maintenance workforce, the very means of production, and offered them their old jobs back at 65% pay cut, thus denying them the fruits of their labour.
Over to Abbotsford now, where unionist thugs, presumably drunk on free beer, have been protesting outside the Carlton United Brewery. The ne'er-do-wells have been nothing. What have they been doing? They've been rioting outside the plant for several weeks and are apparently demanding a pay rise for their unskilled labour.
Neoliberal tyrant and Prime Minister of Australia, Michael Schaefer. Congratulations, Michael. Well done.
It's about time, I just say.
Whoopsie doodle. We'll fix it in post. Merkel has refused to confirm with Tonight reports that he donated $1 million of his ill-gotten personal fortune to secure victory at the recent federal election. Sources from inside the putrid bowels of the Liberal Party have confirmed that, quote-unquote, donations from the private sector were exhausted by last year's leadership coup, leaving the party's undemocratic advertising blitz unfunded.
And in related news, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has allegedly made a considerable donation to the media department of the Liberal Party from his own personal hard-earned wealth to secure the future of the nation. The truth of the matter is still unknown, but Liberal Party sources apparently told the communist-sympathising Fairfax media that the unfortunate retirement of Captain Tony Abbott last year left the party's coffers unable to keep up with campaign demands.
New research from the US National Consortium from the study of terrorism shows that less than 2% of the terrorist attacks in that country can be proving, since once and for all the likes of Donald Trump and Pauline Hanson are simply racist.
And in terrorism news, research claims that a minimum of 2% of US terror attacks are Muslim, and also probably members of ISIS, raising legitimate questions about the leniency of immigration laws around the Western world.
Australians were outraged this week at the vision of the brutalisation of young people in detention centres, prompting a royal commission into juvenile facilities in the Northern Territory. Following up on the shock that such atrocities, that's not a word, what am I saying?
Atrocities.
Bless you. Can be committed by law enforcement. Pass. The commission will look at systematic abuse and the culture of cover-up spotlight of ABC's Four Corners program.
And Australians were outraged this week at the extravagant waste of taxpayers' money by the federal government, who announced a Royal Commission on Tuesday. The leftist ABC used footage of young thugs being shown tough love on Monday night, prompting many around the nation. That was outrageous, viewer. Many around the nation to question whether national service should be reinstated for troubled teens.
It's parody, guys.
And that's the week in news.
Did you know? Sorry, forgot the question mark. Did you know? Australian senators serve 6-year terms and only half of them face the electorate at the 3-yearly election. This is known as a half-Senate election. But in a double dissolution election, such as the one we've just had, all senators must be re-elected. With twice the number of senators to appoint, the quotas of votes needed are halved. This is known as a Pauline Hanson is seriously going to be in the Senate until 2022 actually election. Did you know? In Australia, the Prime Minister's wife isn't referred to as the First Lady. That's because ranking women numerically is reserved for American politics only.
From the Terminator to HAL 9000, all of our most popular movies are littered with robots who want to kill us. Of course, that's just science fiction. Or is it?
Robots. If popular science fiction is to be believed, they're all out to get us and we can't trust any of them. But, to their credit, robots work tirelessly and selflessly all over the world in a variety of jobs. Detonating bombs, packing shells, and even delivering pizza. In Japan, which is about as far into the future as it is away from us in kilometres, you can walk into a store to be greeted and assisted by a humanoid robot, just like in Total Recall, the good one, or Back to the Future too. While we're 100% sure that humankind is doomed if we remain in control of the planet, could robots take over and maybe even do a better job? Will they be our salvation? Or will they bring about Judgment Day?
I think we're at the stage where artificial intelligence has caught up to the science fiction, and this is a story about a very particular artificial intelligence.
Those artificial intelligence stories write themselves.
Very good.
Very good.
Best one of the night. Best joke of the year tonight.
Recently, at the South by Southwest Trade Fair in Texas, we met Sophia, one of the most advanced AI bots around. She was caught on film complaining that she couldn't own a home, have a family, or run a business.
Wait, is this a robot? It sounds like those bloody Gen Y whinging and moaning again, Anthony.
Yeah, no, it does. But have a listen to what she says when she's asked if she wants to destroy humans.
Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no.
Okay, I will destroy humans.
No, I take it back. Don't destroy humans.
Now, in Sophia's defense, that was a pretty leading question. If you asked me if I wanted to destroy humans, I'd probably say, oh, yeah, all right.
It's hard to take Sophia's threat so seriously, though, considering she's just a disembodied head. Do you know what I mean? What are you going to do, Sophia?
I was going to say, she's a person. No, she's not. She's like, I'm going to destroy humanity. Be a doll and pass my legs, will you? Well, I didn't say destroy, I said kiss. Give me the legs.
I don't think she even needs legs if she's smart enough. For example, if you meet Pepper in a Japanese mobile store, she'll challenge you to a breath-holding competition.
On 3, we each take a deep breath, and then we see who can hold it the longest. 1, 2, 3, go!
Is that how the robots plan to wipe out humanity? There's just bodies and bodies in this museum. Like, roll up, try and beat this goddamn robot.
By far the kindest robot I could find was Philip, and even his story isn't too comforting.
Even if I evolve into Terminator, and I will still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people zoo, where I can watch you for all time's sake.
Why is that guy laughing? He's going to put you in a people.
People don't belong in the zoos. Last time people went to a zoo, a gorilla got shot.
No place for people in zoos. I worry where these robots are getting their ideas from. We all know what happened when Microsoft developed a chatbot named Kay, who learnt from interacting with people on the internet. There you go.
It's about time someone said it, can I just say?
I'm sick of this guy. It took the internet 24 hours to turn her into a full-blown, misogynistic, Nazi redneck. So, basically, Trump.
Right, is that Taylor Swift has gotten very racist? Can I just say that?
Lots of plot.
Well, as I understand, Sophia is just ahead. I feel more comfortable though if we could just completely stop her in her tracks. How do we do that?
Well, we can put in kill switches. Google are trying to put in kill switches in all their robots and AIs. The problem is, when you give your robot a real-world objective, it thinks about it in real-world terms. And the kill switch is an objective. It's an obstacle to that objective. There have already been cases of robots disabling their own kill switches purely so that they can perform their programmed objectives.
Oh, that's not terrifying at all.
But if they didn't want them to kill, why did they put in a kill switch?
Well, made a mistake, put on the kill switch, mate.
They put it in so they could turn it off. That's how they... But, I mean, if someone as smart as Stephen Hawking says that we absolutely should have kill switches on our robots, I think we absolutely... That's what he says, by the way. So I think we should have kill switches on our robots.
Well, he would know. He's half robot.
Well, as long as you're saying we need to be wary of machines, I'll trust him. If he changes his tune, though, I'm going to have to start watching out. That's suspicious.
Well, I don't think he's going to change his tune now. He's had that same monotone for years.
Well, as for Sophia, I think this is one robot that should quit while it's ahead.
Well, one issue that was barely raised during the election was the issue of drugs. Like herpes and Pauline Hanson, they're a problem we can't seem to get rid of. We were going to have a graphic for that joke, but we didn't want to show an image of Pauline Hanson. According to the most recent National Drug Survey, 42% of Australians have used illicit drugs. The other 58% were too high to fill out the survey and tried to order a pizza. No anchovies, which is no surprise. Drug use is rife in Australia. We had a festival dedicated to taking drugs. And just look at our national icons as well. Warnie is cooked. Anthony Green must be on something. Even Malcolm Turnbull has admitted to smoking pot.
Yes, I've smoked pot, yes. There you go. When did you stop?
It seems to be quite unfair, Tony.
Oh.
You're reflecting on my performance tonight, are you?
Not at all, not at all.
Gee, Malcolm got paranoid real quick. The government's response to this problem has been to wage a war on drugs, and just like every other war, it's been a raging success. The focus has been on tougher sentences for illicit drug use, like jail terms or 12-month suspensions from playing football. But, sadly, it's also been about demonising drug users, which is a tactic that dates back to 1936 in this terrifying campaign against marijuana.
In hell.
Debauchery, violence, murder, suicide.
Jesus Christ. Some of Hitchcock's earlier work. But still today, we're demonising people who take drugs. Just look at how the media has ramped up fear towards ice users.
It's causing a violent crime wave.
The scariest drug in the world.
The ice epidemic in Australia is now critical.
A crisis the likes of which Australia has never seen.
Can give users almost superhuman strength.
Powerful, drug-crazed maniac.
It makes people psychotic.
People throwing themselves out of balconies or, running into traffic.
It's out there, it is highly addictive, and it's very, very dangerous. You should know about this. The next house an addict robs may be yours.
Jesus, tap dancing Christ! They're coming after my house! I have to get home! Did you hear it, people? There is in our house! In our house is my stuff! All my stuff is there! Oh my God!
But that's the response the media wants. You see that? See, no matter how much fear we create around drugs, there will always be people taking drugs. It's like asking people to pay for public transport. Most people will obey the law, but there will always be those who don't because of the rush you feel when you get away with it. The problem is, we're more afraid of drug users than we are afraid for them. And that fear has informed our current drug policy, where the government is spending over 70% of the budget allocated to illicit drugs on law enforcement at the expense of more cost-effective harm reduction measures. Now, that means we see drug use more as a criminal problem than a health problem, which might be the way to go when you're dealing with someone like Al Pacino in Scarface, but not when you're dealing with the average drug user like Dory. Her pupils are dilated and she has no short-term memory, can I just say? Just saying, we've seen that look before, that's all I'm saying. We've seen it before. It's the same look. Look, one cost-effective way of reducing harm to drug users is by funding another safe injecting site, or SIS. These are places that give drug addicts a safe environment to inject. Across the world, they've saved thousands of people from fatal overdoses and referred many others to clinics for treatment. Why they're not called incredible safe injecting sites beats me. Australia's only SIS, our only SIS, is in the heart of Sydney's King's Cross, surrounded by shops and restaurants. It's just a three-minute walk to the nearest McDonald's. So you can fill yourself with a toxic product responsible for thousands of deaths each year, then you can walk around the corner and safely inject heroin. When the site opened in 2001, some locals were initially concerned that it might lead to antisocial behaviour, which has traditionally been very out of place in King's Cross, as we would all know. But since the site opened, there has been no increase in crime. It has saved at least $658,000 a year compared to other health outcomes and kept people alive.
There's no question it saved lives, and there's no question also that it's prevented a lot of non-fatal overdoses.
The centre is so busy that when it opened this morning, there was a line outside.
The last time people were lining up for an overpriced product that consumes their lives and is made by children overseas, the iPhone 6 had just been released. Sorry, that's an unfair comparison. A hit of heroin won't last way longer than the iPhone's battery. Way longer. Despite the success of the King's Cross site, plans to establish one here in Melbourne have been opposed by Lord Mayor Robert Doyle. Seen here with a woman dressed as a banana and a man dressed in a suit and tie. That's just a joke. That's Robert Doyle in the middle of an acid trip. Doyle made headlines a few years ago when he also opposed this sign. So you know he's not someone to fuck with. Even though safe injecting sites save lives, Doyle is against them because he claims they don't reduce crime. But reducing crime was never their purpose anyway. That's like banning parachutes. I know parachutes save lives, but they don't reduce crime at all. Hey, let's land on that robber. Yeah, right on top. Yeah, that'll get him. This is the best acid trip ever. And even though many studies show that safe injecting sites do reduce crime, Victoria's Ministry for Mental Health also opposes them because they claim that they are based on 1990s ideas. And fair enough, we shouldn't go back to 1990s ideas. We are far better off without boy bands and hammer pants and apartheid, all terrible ideas from the 90s. But safe injecting sites are not an outdated idea. What is outdated is the Herald Sun's view that an injection room would just encourage more drug use. Yeah, of course. If we open a site in Melbourne, everyone will be doing it. Even grandma will be scoring dope. Hey, I was always on the fence about heroin, but since that site opened up, I've decided to chase the dragon. Is this going to make me good at jazz? Is that how this works? In fact, following the success of the King's Cross SIS, medical experts are now calling for more injecting centres and for a trial of a new version called a consumption room in Liverpool in Sydney's southwest for drugs that are not injected, like methamphetamines and Mum's homemade chocolate cake. The special ingredient is love. And meth. But the mayor of Liverpool, Ned Manu, not to be confused with Red Manu, opposed the consumption. Don't get them confused. Opposed the consumption room when Ned Manu said, "We don't want these things in our community." And that mindset is no surprise. Drug consumption rooms are like wind farms. The evidence shows that they work, but still nobody wants one in their own backyard. But we need to make decisions based on evidence. Right now, our policies continue to be driven by fear because, as Darren Hinch and the media have shown, fear is more persuasive than logic. So maybe this will work.
Drugs, crime, epidemic, crisis. Shame, 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 shame. Now that you're terrified, listen up. If we want to save lives and reduce crime, we need drug consumption rooms. They keep drug users off our streets and out of your homes. You should know about them. The next person to rob your house may be Dory.
Come on, Dory. Yeah, I'll find you, Dory.
Welcome back. Well, now it's over to Lindsay Mottram, who took a closer look at the mistreatment of teenage prisoners in Northern Territory.
ABC viewers were shocked this week by the appalling treatment of facts by the notoriously biased communist broadcaster. Wait, no, that was all the time. Earlier this week, ABC viewers were shocked when its Four Corners program revealed the appalling treatment of young people detained in the Don Dale Youth Detention Centre in Darwin between 2010 and 2015. Children as young as 10 were subjected to maltreatment, abuse, and according to some, even torture. The Northern Territory Minister for Corrections, John Elferink, and Federal Minister for Indigenous Affairs, Nigel Scullion, have since claimed that they had no idea of the abuses taking place.
I didn't know. I'd never seen the vision. It hadn't come to my attention. It hadn't piqued my interest or sufficiently.
All information that was provided has been sent off for either a review or a police investigation. Me.
The pair have claimed ignorance despite a veritable plethora of evidence having been evident, such as the Northern Territory Children's Commissioner released a report in 2015 revealing the use of tear gas in children's correctional facilities across the Northern Territory. The head of the North Australian Aboriginal Justice Agency, Priscilla Collins, claimed that she saw the footage of a hooded boy shackled to a chair in Don Dale several years ago. Or take the front page of the Koori Mail in September 2015, which reads, "Children gassed." Now that's underneath an image of Adam Goodes playing football, presumably a metaphor for the young lives that were kicked away from opportunity and for the goal of a more equal society. And yet, the Northern Territory Minister for Corrections, who is also the Minister for Children and Justice, among other things, just didn't know about the rampant abuse of children in the justice system. The federal government also say they didn't know. All of this not knowing stuff reminds me of a few other times that people in positions of power didn't know stuff that they probably really should have known. Like when Cardinal George Pell didn't know whether anyone had ever complained to him about child abuse in Catholic schools.
I didn't know whether it was common knowledge or whether it wasn't. It's a sad story and it wasn't of much interest to me.
Or when Peter Dutton didn't know that Immigration Department contractors were spying on Sarah Hanson-Young while she was on Nauru. Or the Children Overboard debacle, when former Prime Minister John Howard didn't know that the lies he made up about asylum seekers throwing their children into the sea were lies that he had actually made up. Or when Rupert Murdoch didn't know about phone hacking at News of the World.
I was absolutely shocked, appalled and ashamed when I heard about the Millie Dowler case only 2 weeks ago.
Or when Peter Dutton didn't know about Operation Fortitude, the name of a planned Melbourne visa crackdown operation and Michael Bay film coming this summer. Or in the Iraq War, when world leaders totally didn't know that Iraq didn't have any weapons of mass destruction after all. Or when Peter Dutton didn't know that a microphone was above his head when he said this. According to a hasty Google search I did 10 minutes ago, English jurist and scholar John Selden famously said that ignorance of the law excuses no man. Not that all men know the law, but because 'tis an excuse every man will plead, and no man can tell how to refute him. And before that, Aristotle said that nobody is thought to be ignorant of the law, assuming that's what that says. If the common folk, or plebs as we prefer to be called, are held to these standards, then why not those in positions of authority? How can they be so ignorant of what their jobs is and stuff? I mean, if you or I showed up to our job not knowing where it was, why it was, or what it was, we'd certainly expect at least a very harsh talking to from the big boss man who sits in the special chair at my job. It begs the question, are these powerful people simply liars? Or are they just grossly incompetent? I'm glad I asked. They're all liars, except for David Feeney. He's just a loser. But hey, what do I know?
racism. It's kind of a new thing that's happening. With more, here's me, still me, but in a different location. Australia is a diverse nation, and as Australians, we take pride in our shared multicultural heritage. Of course, it hasn't always been that way. In fact, it's still not that way. Australia have a problem with race? How delightfully absurd, I hear you guffaw. Did you know Australia's collection of immigration regulations was once collectively referred to as the White Australia policy? Accidentally being a bit racist can be dreadfully embarrassing, but that's not nearly as important as what to do next. That's why I've compiled the Little Leak Guide to what to do after you've been accidentally a little bit racist. Sam Armytage is one of my heroes and often jokes about her fair complexion being a liability in the Australian climate, which is probably what led her to congratulating the fairer of two non-identical twins.
Maria has taken after her half-Jamaican mum with dark skin and brown eyes and curly dark hair, but Lucy got her dad's fair skin, good on her, along with straight red hair and blue eyes.
What's important is what happens next. Do you, A, apologise unreservedly, or B, take offence that anyone would think you were being racist, explain at length how you weren't being racist, possibly blame the outburst on painkillers 3 years later? The answer to those of you playing at home is A, which happily is exactly what Sam Armytage did. So while it started a little bit tricky, this story has a happy ending. Easy. While discussing Nick Kyrgios and Bernard Tomic's on-field performance, Olympic gold medalist and my personal hero, Dawn Fraser, inadvertently said this.
If they don't like it, go back to where their fathers or their parents came from. Yeah?
When something like that accidentally comes out, do you, A, apologise unreservedly, or B, refuse to take back your comments, insist you have a pretty good gut level feeling almost all of mainstream Australia feels the way you do, and assert your right to free speech? Again, it feels like it could go either way, but the answer is A. And again, that's exactly what Dawn Fraser did. That's really cool of Dawn Fraser. I mean, I'm not saying we give her another gold medal. Let's say, for argument's sake, you're holding a talent competition and one of your acts is a Jackson 5 tribute band with members in blackface. Do you, A, not put this sketch to air in the first place, B, for the love of God, never broadcast this or anything close to this, ever, C, seriously, why would anyone put this to air? Let's say it made it to air. What's important is what you do next. Do you, A, insist blackface be taught at schools and demand a royal commission into blackface? B, devote airtime and give a platform to someone with the cultural awareness to explain what was so problematic about the sketch? The answer is A. I mean B, which is exactly what the particular episode of Hey Hey It's Saturday actually did. People can say or do clumsy things sometimes. We're all made of clay, and sometimes an apology doesn't feel enough. But if titans like Sam Armytage, Dawn Fraser, Daryl Summers can stumble, trip over and pick themselves up again, maybe there's hope for the rest of us too.
Well done, Anthony. Thank you. Well, no good deed goes unpunished. In the same way, no citizen's arrest goes unpunished. Be careful out there.
A man tried to rob a small family-run business in Perth, but was stopped by the family-run business owners. Now the police are charging those men for using excessive force while attempting a citizen's arrest. Northern Territory politician John Elfenrick performed one live on television after a drunk fella kicked him when he was announcing. Mr. Elfenrick was a former copper with a law degree, so he knew what he was doing. But if you attempt to arrest someone and end up doing it unlawfully, there could be some nasty consequences. Most citizens' arrests are made by good Samaritans standing up for what's right in the world, often intervening in violent public fights or shoplifting. But 29-year-old Luke Mitchell was stabbed to death while trying to break up a fight outside a 7-Eleven in 2009. So should we be taking the law into our own hands?
I think based purely on what you said there, no. No, we shouldn't.
No.
Good call.
No.
Wasn't John Elfring the same? He's the same minister that was just this week sacked because of the Northern Territory thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he was practicing his citizens' arrests on children who'd already been arrested.
That's, you could...
Yeah.
A, B or C, Anthony. That was topical. Anyone can legally detain a person who's committed a crime, but it just doesn't seem to be worth it.
Could I arrest Donald Trump because I know he's a bad man, or do I need to actually list his crimes first?
You'd be doing it forever.
Well, what happens if you attempt to make a citizen's arrest, but you bugger it up?
Depends on how you bugger it.
Missed it.
I do declare, Mr. McCormack. You can get sued by whoever you've tried to arrest for false imprisonment, or be criminally liable for assault or false detention.
Wait, so I can't arrest Kyle Sandilands for this, for example? I can't. That's not.
Unfortunately, no.
Huh.
Could I arrest Michael because he's criminally funny?
And gorgeous.
Shucks, Anthony. Like, I feel pretty bad if I witnessed something and didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, no, I'm with Michael on this. I would feel bad as well.
How bad?
This is the thing.
Cry?
I don't want people to think I'm a coward. I am a coward. I just don't want people to know that.
It's just not your responsibility, but you have to be careful because, like, criminals can be very dangerous.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I wouldn't worry about people thinking you're a coward, Anthony. Not as bad.
All right.
It's fine. You did do a big run out of the... Is your stuff okay? Did you...
Oh, yeah, so I checked. It's all fine. I'll just keep you updated.
You live very close. You live at the university, don't you? Yeah, it's fine. See, don't intervene, because why you may look like a coward and that could be bad, it's better than having a black eye and a Ouija smile.
Mm-hmm. Ouija smile.
A Ouija smile, I'm glad you asked. It's a Glaswegian smile where they break off a wine bottle or a beer bottle, any glass will do.
I think that's plenty.
Okay.
I see, the thing about criminals, aren't they more scared of you than you are of them?
I think that's spiders, Anthony. That's spiders.
Definitely.
Criminal spiders.
No.
Okay, so what's the best thing to do if we see a crime, Jack? What are you trying to say?
Well, do what you learn at school.
So, slip, slop, slap.
That's the sun, Anthony.
Stop, drop, and roll.
No, that's fire.
I before E, except after C.
That's spelling, Anthony.
Just call the police. 000.
All right.
Not now, Anthony.
No,
not now.
No.
Okay.
Why
So
calling the police?
I was just going to dob in Michael for being criminally funny.
Guilty. Was that a little bit accidentally? Anyway, I'll apologize. Guys, that's the show for tonight. Please put your hands together for Jacqueline Mifsud. And also one more time for Anthony McCormack. I've been Michael Schaefer. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
You've just endured an entire episode of The Leak. The next of your dark task is to visit our website, where you can join our studio audience live every Friday night on Channel 31. And for further adventures, do not neglect to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Grindr, Instagram, and SoundCloud, where we've repeatedly uploaded our theme song over 1,000